Okay, hello everyone. What we are going to do today is to build a website that is going to be like a full stack beginner kind of website. It's going to be using Django for the backend, React from the front. If you don't know what Django is or React is, what you're doing on this video. Uh, it's on the title. So the Django is a framework for the backend, written with Python. It's going to help us have some tools. So it's going to make our life more easier. Okay. The React is a framework for the front end. So the Django is for the backend, and the React is for the front end. And it's going to help us create single page websites. So it's really useful for rendering the pages. It's going to make our architecture for the front end way better because it's going to have a lot of components. So the page is separated into components. Okay, what we are going to build? We are going to build a notepad that is going to allow us to do some basic stuff like update, delete. So let's try and create. So go gym, please. Go to the gym. Let's hit save. And we can filter go, wash car, go see your mom, go back, go gym, please. So we can update them. Go gym, please. Go gym, delete or save. We are going to save it. We are going to be sent to the main page. Go gym is got update. So let's delete. Go see your mom. Delete it. Now we can't find go see your mom. It got deleted. We have a count for the notes. We can go filter them. So this is just going to show you the basics. It's not a project that we are going to put online. We just want to see how we can get data from the backend, how we can put data to the backend, how we can update data, how we can print it, how we can use Django and React together because it's Python and JavaScript. So they are two beautiful frameworks that I want to show you today. I want to show you today some basics. Okay, so it's not going to be an advanced level of video. Is going to be a beginner one. So for those that just started with the Django and React, and maybe you want to have them together, or you're just interested in Django or just interested in React. So the styling is not going to be the main view. So as you can see, it could have been way better. The main view is going to be the functionalities. Okay, you can get the project and make it better. Maybe play a bit with the search with the CSS and stuff like that. Maybe make it your own. If you can follow the video, you just copy it from the description, the code, and just to pay attention at the video and learn as much as possible. So have fun. So firstly, what we are going to be doing is going to create a folder where we are going to store all the projects. So the back end, the front end, everything. So into the command prompt, go to the desktop and write make dir notepad. Okay, this is going to create a folder notepad. You can see it right here. And right now, what we can do is cd into this notepad. So cd notepad. Now we are into the notepad, and we want to create the folder where we are going to store the front end. So we are going to be using React. So to use React, we have to have the Node.js installed. So go to the Node.js and install the recommended for most users. Now we are into the Notepad. So to create the front end, so the React folder, npx create React app, and let's call it front end because we are going to have a backend later on for the Django. Now the front is getting created. So React works on components. So we're going to have different components. So the HTML is going to be separated into the components. A component for the header, a component for the body, a component for the footer. So everything is going to be uh, rendered separately. So this is going to help us to create single page paginations, to have more efficient rendering for the page. This is why React is so used because it's going to help us create a more efficient way of realizing a website, a beautiful front end. So you're going to enjoy it. I will show you everything. The main benefit is that we can have a single page front end. so you don't have to have this reload thing between pages. You can see everything on the main page, but it's going to be getting rendered. So now we have the front end installed, so we can go to the front end. Where's the front end? Right here. We created it with the npx create react app, and the name is the front end. Later on, we are going to be creating the backend. In the back, we are going to use Django. But right now, what I'm gonna do is have the front end, have the styling, render some dummy data. So we are going to be creating some random nodes, so we can see how the page is going to look like. And after this, uh, CSS, HTML, and front-end stuff, we are going to be creating the backend. So we can render actual data, create data, delete data, update data, and so on. So now we are in the front end. So in the front end, we still have to hit npm installs. It's going to install some dependencies for the React. Okay, now we can open the editor, go to the desktop, and search the notepad. You can see the notepad is going to have a folder front end. In the source, we are going to write our logic. Let's open the server. So npm start is going to start our server. So it's a local host server. It's going to be used just to see how the site would look like. So this is the React logo. We are going to delete this because we are going to write our own logic. Delete the CSS. In the app, we are going to render every main component, because what you can see on the screen is going to be into the app div. So this is just a function that's rendering some div, some divs. The main div has a class name for the app. The app is just a class name, but everything we are going to put here, I don't know, random data, everything is going to be rendered to the main page. Okay, that's the main idea. And in the CSS, you can style it. Okay, because we're importing it. Okay, what I wanna do now? Well, the app, I want to be having a color of, let's say, a bit darker. Okay, so I'm going to write most of the logic here. Inspect, so you can see what the styling is doing. So in the body, we can click here. We have the class app. So go to the plus, give it the background color of, let's say, black. Okay, we have to give it a width, so be as big as the page, and for the height the same. So it would be that big, a bit like that. That's perfect. Okay, I'm going to copy this logic and that into the CSS is going to be saved now. So this is going to be our background color. Okay, so in the background is going to be in the main component, we are going to have another div for the node body. So class name node body. Okay, so the node body is going to be our node. Let's style it right here so we can see everything. So you see the app is having now a div node body. Click the plus, give it a bit of 40% of the parent div. So the app is going to be 100 view width, so the notepad body is going to have 40% of the parent of the app, and a height of 95%. Okay, maybe 90%. Let's say the width to be 35%. You can't really see it. Let's give it a different background color. Still black, but a bit brighter. Uh, Something like this should be good. We're going to be styling it anyway a bit more. So let's add this here. What we can do, we want the node to be in the center. So we can say app, put your children's into the center. Display flex, select item center, justify content center. Copy this and add it, override it right here. Okay, now our node is into the center. That's what I wanted to achieve. Maybe we can make it even a bit smaller because just a little notepad. So let's add here 31%. Okay, should be fine. Okay, what I want to have into the node. Well, I'm going to want to have a header. Okay, so the header. So I have the main page, the node. I'm going to have a header. So class name header. We are going to be having another div class name body and maybe a footer. So div class name footer. So I want to say the node body to align the items one after the other. So let's give some styling. The header is going to be background color red, so you can just see it. So the body is going to have a background color of blue. So the footer, let's say yellow. You can see them after we give them some width. Okay, so let's say they are going to be as big as the node body. So with 100%, and copy this to the other ones. So 100% here, 100% here, and 100% here. Okay, and the height for the head is going to be around 50%. The height for the footer, let's say 10%, 10, 5%. Let's put a 5, okay. And the body is going to have the remaining, so 75%, okay. That's good. Now you can see them. What's wrong with the blue one? So the body, I forgot this is going to be the height. The height and the width is going to be 100%. Now you can see them. This is going to be the header section, the body section, and the footer section. Maybe we can have the header only 10%. Here is going to be 80%. Let's say 5% for the footer and 85 for the body. This should be good. Okay. What we want to have in the header? In the header, so I'm going to delete this. In the header, I want a similar color as the background, so the app, but maybe a bit, let's say, a bit darker. So we can differentiate a bit. Okay. The body, let's add the same background color, but a bit brighter, just a bit. Okay, and the footer is going to have the same color as the body. Okie dokie. Now what I want to do now is to create the header. The header is just going to have some text. So the text is going to be header h3 note list, okay, or notepad or note list. Anyway, so the note list, we are going to get the header and go to the h3 because the h3 is into the header and then the color of white. So you can see note list. Let's make it a bit bigger. So font size, where I am, you can see it right here. Let's say 1.5 should be enough, and the font weight of border. Okay, uh, maybe even bigger, something like this. Okay, margin 0, so it's not having some distance between it. So the margin is 0, so it's not pushing the div or something like this. So okay, what you can do now is just align it, text align, center, and actually we can tell the header to align its items. So display flex, align item center, that's good. The h3 is going to have a bit of margin left of 5 rim, or maybe 3, 2.5. That's good. Okay, I want to have a little icon right here, so let's search Notepad, Notes. So let's copy this one. Let's make a folder named WebKit. So in the WebKits, we're going to say note.svg, paste this. How we can use this SVG? We go into the app, import React component as icon from, we have to go into the WebKit. So webkits-note.svg. Okay, and now we can add this icon right here. Good. You should be able to see it. Let's see. It's black. That's the problem. So let's cover it into a div so we can style it. Okay. Like this. So we can style up the icon. So add the class name of, let's see, title SVG. So get the title SVG. So the title SVG is having a SVG. So get into the SVG, add the color of white. So you can see now. Let's put it into the center. So align self center. Not going to work. Let's make it be as into the right as possible. So margin left auto. Make it a bit bigger. 5 rim, height 5 rim. Something like this. Maybe 4, 4. Okay, let's see a bit. The header is going to have a position of relative. We have the note list and the title. The title SVG. So delete the margin left from here. We don't want to add it here. We want to tell the div that's having the SVG to be as into the right as possible. So margin left auto. Maybe a bit into the left. So of position of relative, so we can use right 5 pixels or 10. I did the color of, let's copy this. Title. And this video I would like to have a color of something like this. Okay, I like how it looks. Good. So the styling is getting better. What we can do now is down into the footer. I want to have the footer. But firstly, why we are using React? So we can separate the components. So we have a notepad body. So let's copy this body, add, create a folder named screens, and tell here to have a JavaScript file notepad.javascript. Create a function that's going to return some HTML and paste it here. Okay, so we are going to export it. What's doing this component? It's exporting the same thing that we had before, so we can copy this, import it, import notepad, and add it right here, and it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to copy the icon and add it here. Okay, so because the icon is used here, okay, not in the app. Let's see the problems. Okay, now we are in the screens folder, so we had to get out from the screens and go to the WebKits. So dot to get out from the WebKits. So dot to get out from the screens, and then go to the WebKits. Okay, let's separate it even more. So the header is going to be another component. So copy this header. Okay, we're going to create a folder components. Just want to make sure that it's filming, because it's the the fourth time I'm filming this. So in the components, we're going to have a component header dot JavaScript and paste the header here. So the header is needing this icon imported. Okay, so what we're going to do is copy this thing and add it to the header. So the problem is that we exported the header and we want to import it here. So import header. Now it should be working. as expected. What we did? So the app is having a notepad. The notepad is having the header. Okay. So we are just separating the HTML a bit. Now what we are going to have, uh, let's have a count of the number of nodes somewhere. Okay. So we can do this here. So a paragraph count, we are going to have 0 right now. Okay, so let's see the count. So notepad, header, count. Let's add a class here. Class, let's add it after the, okay, right here. Class name of count. Okay, so we go to the app, count, color, white. So you can see the count. The count I want to be into the center. So text align center. It's not working. Let's see why. So the header, we are going to tell you justify content center, align item center. Because the title is pushing everything to the left, because you use the margin left auto. So what you can do is let's just give the count a position of absolute, so it's not going to care about the other elements because it can be over them. That's what absolute does. He doesn't really care about the other elements. So count is going to care about the actually header where he is. So we're going to give it a position of relative because if it's going, the head is going to be relative. So the count cannot get outside of the header. And add justify content center and copy this logic to the header. So header is going to have this logic. Okay, the count is just going to be something small here. That's good enough. Good. Into the footer, we are going to have, let's see, notepad. The footer is going to be another component. Okay, so footer. Let's create a component. Footer. Okay, RFC. Export this footer. Render make, so it's a function that it is a div. Okay, we have to import it here, so import footer. Okay, we get the class. This footer is going to have an input because we want to be able to search for the node, an input and the plus button. So add node, and what we are going to do is to go to the iconify and search for the add. So let's take this one, copy it, do the same as before, WebKits, add button, .svg, paste this here, everything is fine right here. Okay, notepad, import this svg into the footer because the footer is going to use it. Import react component as add from, we have to get out from the component, so dot and get into the WebKits, place WebKits like that, and go to the add button .svg and put this here. Now everything works fine. This is the input and the button. Let's tell the footer to align its item into the center. So app.css, so footer display flags, align at the center, justify content center. So we can see them into the center right now. Let's make the input a bit bigger. So footer is going to contain an input with 10 rim, height is going to be 2 rim. Okay, maybe a bit bigger, like this. Okay, I wanted to see the text. So text, color black for the text, but we don't have the text, so we need a placeholder. So the footer input is going to have a placeholder of search. Now we can see the search here. Let's align it into the center. So CSS, text align, center. That's good. Let's make it a bit bigger. So font size 1.5 RIM. Okay, the actual button is going to be into the footer and SVG. Let's give it a color of the same color as this one. Okay, and make it a bit bigger. So height 3 RIM. Maybe even a bit bigger. So let's go here, click it, and increase the height or the width 5 RIM, a bit smaller. Okay, let's margin left auto, so it's going to be as into the left as possible, and it's going to push the input into the left. Okay, and a position of relative and the right of 5 pixels or around 15. Make it again a bit bigger, but let's remove the height. Never mind, leave the height. Bottom 5 pixels, something like this. This looks fine. Footer, okay. Okay, that's fine. So the search is here, the add button is here. We want, so when we are hovering to the SVG, we want to have a cursor of pointers. So, and make the color a bit black, not black, a bit darker, okay? So let's make it a bit darker and have a transition between this. Transition of 0.3 seconds. So we can see that it's getting a bit darker, okay? It's good. That's really, really good. Okay, for the actual notes, what we are going to be doing is to go to the notepad. So the notepad is having a body. Let's make this a component too. So copy this, go to the components, body, sorry, body, comma, export this, export the div. We can take the actual body right here now here like this and import the body from the components. So from what you can see, we are having screens and components. This is the main screen and we are going to have the components that beats that main screen. Okie dokie. Now we want to see some nodes, how the nodes would look like. So let's create the body is going to have some divs for the nodes. Div, class name, node, field, which is going to have a header of, I don't know, wash car, and a paragraph for description. Let's say go home and dot dot dot. So it's, you had to click the button to see everything. Copy this and paste it, so a bit of around 5 times. Okay, now let's style them a bit. So as I said, we're going to have some dummy data to see how the front end would look like. So node field is going to be having background color, a bit of border to see it, white, a bit of 100% of the body. Okay, and the height of 20 rem. Never mind. Why? Let's delete the white height. Why I can see the border? 1 pixel solid white. Now we can see it. What can we do now? Add a bit of margin between them. Margin 1 pixel. Only a bit of margin. Okay. We can delete the border now. Add a bit of background color. Actually, let's take this. Paste this in the CSS. It's going to have the same background color as the node body, but a bit brighter. So background color, this one, but a bit brighter. So let's do it a bit brighter. That's good. A bit of margin. So margin top 3 pixels, 2 rem, like this. Let's add it to the node field. and they are overflowing. There are too many. So let's say that the body allows overflow visible. Let's see, overflow scrollable. So you can scroll, but not the X. So of overflow X hidden. So you can scroll up and down. That's all that you can do. So let's take the body, paste this here. No, no, no. Here. Okie dokie. Okay, let's give a color for the nodes. So the nodes is going to have the color of, so let's get the node field the same color as the icons. Okay, so let's see this color. Maybe a bit, maybe just white. Okay, that's good. That's good enough. When I hover over, let's see. Let's tell the body to align them a bit. Display flex direction column, align center, justify content center. So they're a bit more centered. Let's take edit to the body. So body, paste this here. So it's aligning the elements a bit more centered. So I want the node field, so the elements from the node field to have a bit of margin, so to the left. So let's do node field h1 margin left 3 to where I am, and I think that it's h3. Let's see, it's h1. h1. Okay, like that. Okay, and for the description too, let's say 1.5. So the description, the same for the description. So p. That's good. Okay, we can see the nodes. When we hover over a node, so hover. Okay, let's make the color a bit brighter. So the node body, not node body, the node field is going to have a background color a bit brighter. I added the, let's take the background that you added to the body. So body, let's take this background and add it to the node fields. Like this. Okay, so the node field is going to have a border radius of 40 pixel. Okay, that's better. Okay, that's good. What we can do, it's fine. Okay, that's the node. We can make the fields a bit smaller though. So node field is going to have a height of 5 where I am. Now leave it this default one, so it's going to have enough height to be able to contain the data. Okay, that's fine. We can make the title a bit smaller though. So 1.3 here I am. Not the margin, the height. Height 1.3 here I am. Okay, that's a bit better. And the paragraph is going to have a bit of space between the header. So the wash car. I think I will leave it like that. Okay, those are the notes. What you can do now is to actually render some data, but not for the backend for now. I still want to give this node a bit of border on the side. So the node body border radius 10 pixels, maybe 50 pixels, and overflow hidden, something like this. That's more like a phone looking notepad. Node body, node body. Good. Copy this, paste here. That's our node, okay? What we want to do now is to be able to edit the overflow so the elements cannot overflow over it. So if we eliminate the overflow, you can see that elements are just getting over the node body. So leave the overflow here. Now let's render some data. So we are going to the body and make some random data. So we're going to be having data equal to, so let's say some object. So object one, title, let's see, it's going to be an array of objects. The first one going to have a title of go home and the description of don't forget to go home. And we have to need to have a key, so one, an ID, something like this. Okay, let's paste this a bit, several, around 5 times, like this. Const data, let's do this like this one. So it's going to be it should be an array. Forgot something. Const data. Something doesn't look right. Okay. Let's leave it on the. I think that I deleted something. Oh, this one. Okay, okay. We can put it back down. Okay. So be careful when you are deleting stuff. You can destroy everything. So you're having some data with some different types of nodes. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go home, go gym, go school. Let's see, go tennis, go wash. Okay, and we want to render this data. So we are having right now some node fields, so we can make a component for this. So we are going to delete this. Let's copy the first one. Okay, leave the first one. Copy the first one. So what you want to do is to do a for loop. So we are going to do something like data.map. So we are going to be having an element node. So the node is going to iterate every node from this data array and is going to return this div. So I just pasted everything, paste. Okay, so it's going to return a node. But for the h1, I want to have the node dot title, and for the description is going to be note that description. Okay, and we need to give it a key. So when we are using the map, we need to give a key. Key is going to be equal to note that key. Okay, why we need a key? Because React has to know if we delete an element or we re-render an element, it doesn't have to re-render all the elements. It's going to render just the element based on the keys. It's a bit more complicated, but we need to add the keys so they can be specified easily. They can be differentiated more easily in the React. That's how the framework works. So we can see all the data right here. So that's apart from the front end. So we have data right here. What I want to do is not have a div and have a node component, okay, where we are going to send. So to send the node, okay, so the node is a component node, and it's going to do the same thing. So it's going to export the actual node, okay, and we have to get, so we send to the node in the body, we send the actual node. So let's get it. How we can get it? Like this. I want to get the node. Okay, the key, we are not going to add the key here. So the node is going to have title and description. So we get the node from the body. We have to export this component, so import node, so we can use it. And here we are going to add the key. So we are going to have more nodes. So every node is going to be special. It's going to have a key. Okay, so if we delete or we want to re-render a node, we don't have to re-render everything. We want to render a specified node. So key is going to be equal to node that key. Okay, and it's going to be the same thing. Now let's play a bit with the backend. What I want to do right now is to play a bit with the backend. Right now we are just having some dummy data. What I want to do is to have a backend that is going to send me this data. Okay, so that's a part for the front end. Now what we are going to do next is to create the backend, and the backend is going to give us the data saved in a database or stuff like this. We can update the nodes, we can get the nodes, we can delete the nodes, and so on. But this is going to be done the next video. So right now what we did, we just showed the basics. Let's re-explain what we've done. So we are going to have the boilerplate app.javascript that is just a function that renders a div, okay, a container, and this container is going to be what we can see on the page. This container is going to have notepad, okay, this notepad, that what is going to be is going to render a notepad body. The notepad body is going to have itself some components. So the header is going to render the header, the footer that is going to render the footer, and the body. And the body, what is doing is rendering some data. This data is right now some dummy data, but we are going to make the API calls later on in another video. So we can iterate through these nodes, and for every node, for every element from this array, we return a node that gets this data. So the node is going to be this one, and we send it here. It's going to be this one, and we send it here. So we get the node and return this thing. So it's the same as we did. So I did it step by step. So firstly we rendered everything in a div, then we separated stuff a bit to show the power of the React. So as I said, React is a framework for the front end that actually helps us with the architecture of the front end pages, let's say like that. So it's helping us have a better logic. So let's give you an example. If I have the notepad body and maybe I want to change something in the header, I just have to go to the header and change it here. So I don't have to change everything. Maybe I have 5 pages with the same headers, the same header component. So I don't have to copy this header in the 5 pages, this one. So I don't have to copy this div into the separated 5 pages where I want to have this header. I just have to export this header. And maybe if I want to make some changes to this header, again, I don't have to go to every 5 pages where I have this header. I just have to go to this component and change here. So if I have 5 pages that uses my header, and I put this here, note all the 5 pages are going to be changed, so I don't have to go to every page and change it. Okay, that's it for the moment. The next video we're going to start with the backend, and hope you enjoy it. Actually, let's just do everything in a video. Let's have a 5 hours video. I'm really curious who's going to watch everything, but let's have everything in one video. So what we are going to do now, we have to make the backend. So in the backend, as I said, we are going to need to have the data, okay? The actual data. So I just want to make sure that I'm filming everything all right. Good. As we did to the front end, we are going to go to the command prompt, enter the Django. So in the backend, we are going to go to the desktop, and the dependencies that we are going to be installing for the backend are going to be in a folder in a virtual environment. So we are going to install everything in the virtual environment. The virtual environment, imagine it like a folder where we are installing every dependencies. Okay, so pip install virtual env. So you can create a virtual environment after this. Virtual env, let's call it NOTEPAD. Now on the desktop, we are having this NOTEPAD. I can see it right here, NOTEPAD, okay? Let's drag the NOTEPAD into the same folder as the notepad. So we are having the front end and the NOTEPAD. Okay, I hope that you can't hear the music from my desktop. Okay, that's good. Good. Now let's create the actual backend, the Django. So as I said, we're going to install everything in the environment. So go to the folder because we drag the environment here. So notepad and activate the environment. So we named it, let's see, NodeEnv. So NodeEnv dash scripts dash activate. So now what we are going to be doing is we activated the environment and we can install in it pip install Django. So it's going to install the Django for us. I already have it, but you can install it if you don't have it. Now we have to tell the Django to create a backend for us. So Django dash admin create dash start app, or no dash create app, and we are going to call it backend. Maybe start app. Django dash mean dash. I forgot the command. Django dash admin dash start app. Sorry, backend. Django dash admin dash start project. Okay, backend. Django dash admin. We are having the Django. Django is not recognized as an inter. Pip install Django. Django version. So we can see the Django. Why? Why I can't see the Django? That's the problem. We can't see the Django is not installed. Why? Let's delete the environment and create it again. So notepad, node cnv, delete it, create another one. So let's delete this command prompt. Cd into the desktop. Maybe you're not having this problem. Cd into the project, notepad project, and now virtual env, node env, activate this one, node env dash scripts dash activate. So pip install Django. Now it's installing. I don't know what happened. Maybe it wasn't the case for you. The command is Django admin create project. So I don't know why it didn't work. The Django wasn't getting installed properly. So Django dash dash version. Anyway, so Django admin that create project backend. What's wrong with the environment? Why I can't see the Django? Just inside pip install Django is going to say that I already have it. Okay. Okay, now we have to create the backend. So for the backend, as I said, we have to create our virtual environment. So we created the node env, we dragged it into the notepad. So in the notepad right now we are having front end and node env. How we create the virtual environment, pip install virtual env. After that, to create the environment, virtual env, and the name I called it node env. And now to activate it, so I'm going to create another command prompt, go to this desktop, go to the project, notepad, and here into the notepad, I'm going to create another environment just so you can see everything. So I'm going to delete this one. Okay, so we are into the notepad. Okay, right now we are just having the front end. Let's create the virtual environment. Pip install virtual env. Okay, you just have to do this. I had some problems, so that's why I'm doing it again. Virtual env, the name, so node env. This is creating the environment. So node env dash scripts dash activate. So we are going to activate the environment because we want to make the installation for the backend into the environment folder. So every installation is going to be into the folder, so we don't have to install it everywhere. Okay, imagine like this. So it's the easiest explication. Now we are into the node env, hit pip install Django. This is going to create for us the installation for the Django into the environment. So we can use the Django if we activate the environment. I'm filming, yeah. Yep, everything's fine. Now, as we did with the front end, we had to tell Django to create the backend. So we did nothing right now. We just have the node CNV where we hit pip install Django so we can use Django. Now we are going to say in the notepad, okay? So in the notepad, in the main folder, Django-admin create project. We are going to call it backend. Sorry, start project. Start project backend. Now into the notepad, we have the backend right here waiting for us to play with it. In the backend, imagine the backend like, let's see, let's just open it. So the backend is going to have as the React, the dependencies. So it's going to have some settings for the dependencies. We are going to have the URLs. We are going to use those. So the settings are just going to be the dependencies that the Django needs. And the manage.py, it's like it's going to help us to activate the server, to run the server. Okay. Okay. Right now, what we are going to be doing. So we are going to have in the backend. Imagine the backend like. A folder that is having different apps, let's say like that. So if you have a huge project, we are going to have a folder for the users, a folder for the, I don't know, uh, let's give a school as an example. So we are going to have a folder for the teachers, a folder for the students, a folder for the, I don't know, admins. So we are going to separate the logic. So we need a folder because we can't create everything into a folder. So to do this, we go to the command prompt, we cd to this backend and tell the Django that we want to create an app for nodes. So to have a folder where we're going to create the logic for the nodes. So Python manage.py. So as I said, this manage.py helps us with starting the server and creating stuff. Manage.py, start app, let's call it notes app. This is going to create the folder notes app. You can see it right here. But now we have to tell the Django that, okay, we created the folder, you have to implement it into the project. So the apps is going to have notes app config, which is going to be something like, okay, this is the notes app. You can add this into your project by utilizing this class from the apps. It's something like, hey, I am Notes app and I want to be part of your application. And how can I find this Notes app? We go to the Notes app, apps, and here is like an ID. Okay, so we go to the backend, to the settings, to the installed apps, and paste the path to this class. So we had to go into the folder Notes app, into the apps, and into the Notes app config. Okay, so Notes app, apps, Notes app configs, and this is going to be something like, hey, I'm Notes app, I want to be part of your application. Okay, okay. From what you can see in the front end, in the source, and in the, I will delete this, into the, let's go to the node feed and add the cursor pointer. Okay, just so we can have a pointer when you are hovering over a node. Into the front end, so at the screens, we have the body that is rendering some data. This is the data that we want to save into the backend. So we are having a title, description, and a key. Okay. So what we can do, we have to tell the Django to create some tables. So tables, it's like how we would like to see a node. Okay, if you have a table for a user, it's going to have a name, a last name, an age. So we want to be able to save some nodes. So it's going to have a title, a description, and let's call it an ID. Okay, so an ID. So in the backend, in the models, we have to create this how we would like to see the node. This is going to be by classes. So class, we're going to call this, see, we are doing this in the notes app because we want to have the logic for the nodes in the notes app. If we had the users, we would have a users app. So we are going to have here a node, which is going to be inherited from models that model. This is how we are telling the Django, okay, this is a node, it's going to be part of our database, it's going to show how we want to store a node into the database. So this is going to have a name, it's going to be a models.char field, it's going to have a max length of, let's say 50. It's going to be required, so null is going to be false and blank is going to be false. So we want to get the name to actually save the node. The description is going to be also required. So it's going to be a text field because it's bigger. Null, false, blank, false. So we don't really want to have a description. We empty, okay? It's going to have an ID. So we can use import we do to have the ID. So ID is going to be models dot we do. It's going to be a default one, so we don't have to put the ID. The ID is going to be added automatically. So default is going to be uido.uido4, so it's going to be generated automatically. It's going to be a primary key because every node is going to be, let's say, if we want to get a node, we're going to search for his ID. Okay, so this is why the unique is going to be true. And now in the Django, if you want to have some database to, so we are having the database MySQL or SQLite created by the Django as default, so it's not going to be used when we are going to upload this project. But I don't know if we are going to upload this. This is just for displaying some stuff and learning some basics. But now we can go. We opened the React server to see the front end, we can open the Django server. So go here and python manage.py run server. You have to be in the folder where manage.py is, okay, placed. So click, hit enter, go to this server, and now we have to, this is the page that Django gives us. Okay, what we want to do is to be able to start this, to let the Django know that you want to, let's say, update the database, because we created a class that's going to be a part of our database. So we have to update the database. Let's do it. Let's call it like that. So Control C to stop the terminal, and python manage.py make migrations. This command is going to show us how the database would look like if we would migrate. Okay, it's like a snapshot. It's going to say that you are going to create a node. So yes, you like this, we are going to update the database. Okay, we have to create a user admin. So for that, so Django, no, Python manage.py, create super user, enter your name, enter email, a password. Okay, and now go to the Google, go to the server for the Django /admin. I'm still filming, right? Yup, okay, I'm still filming. This I can be reached because we turned off our terminal, so we have to have the server on so we can work on it. So python manage.py run server. Now we can see is here you're going to add username and password, and you can see this is the how the database looks for you. Okay, you have a user which is yourself, you're an admin. Okay, this is the data for you. And we might want to see how a node would look like, so we have to go to the admin, import from the models, so from models we want to import our node. Go to the admin.site.register our node so we can see the node in database. Okay, restart. We have to activate again our something is not good here. Let's see what's happening. So let's just restart the server. Python is the parent server. Okay, we restarted the server. Okay, now we can see that in the database we have node. So what we can do? Well, we can create node, add node, save. Okay, but this field is required, this field required because we added null, false, blank, false. So go wash car, description, please go wash car. Save and add another, go to gym, work hard, go gym. Okay, save, hit another, go see your mom, I will come with you. Save. Okay, now we can see them by the ID. I want to see the actual name. So in the models, we're going to do a function, ctrl self, and I want to return self.name. So every node is going to be seen as the name. Go to see, okay, go wash car and go to the gym. Okay, so we can see the node by the name, not by the ID. Those are the nodes from our database, and let's create some more. Okay, so hit subscribe or I will be mad. I know that I'm not writing correctly. I just want to add as much as possible. Okay, subscribe, so you will think that I'm just a moron. Name and like. Please do not forget to hit like. Save. How we can render these nodes? So we have to kind of have a function that it's getting the nodes from the backend. So we go to the views, def get nodes. It's going to have a request to get nodes. So we have to do some installation for this first. So I'm going to put pass because it's not completed. So we want to install the Django REST framework. Okay, so you go Django REST framework. We need to hit this into the terminal, so go to the close the server, Control C, paste this thing here. Okay, already have them, but you can install them. In the install depths, we have to add this REST framework. So we go to the backend settings because we have to add some dependencies. So I said this is where we are having all the dependencies. Okay, so we added this here. We have to stop. Okay. Okay, in the views, now we can use some really good stuff. So from Django dash REST framework. So we can see this right here if you want to copy this. If you can't see this, but you should be seeing everything the same as me, okay? What we want to install is from Django, from REST framework dot decorators import. Uh, let's see the decorators, the import. You don't have to remember everything from the mind. So Django REST framework decorators. So you can see that we are going to be needing API view, and we're not going to need API view anyway. Let's see an example of the function. So we're going to need the response. So the response, and this should be API view the lower. Okay, so API view dot decorators. It should be decorators, right? Yep, I'm right. Okay. This get nodes is going to be a function that it has to know what it has to do, what a request can get. So it's going to have a request of let's think what types of APIs we are having. Where we have an API view for post, for get, for delete, and for put. So we are going to have an API view of get. Why? Because the API for the get is used to get data. So we want to, for the post is to add data, okay? Put is going to be for the update data and delete to delete data. Okay, that's all the idea. Forgot this one. This function is going to have request for get. Why? Because we want to get data. We want to get the nodes. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to get the nodes from the backend. So nodes is going to be equal to we have to import the from models, import the node model. So from the node dot objects dot get, we want to import the nodes. So all the nodes, okay, all nodes. That's going to import all the nodes. So in the models we have the class node that is going to be able to give us all the nodes that we created. Okay. The problem is that we can't do some. So we want to return those nodes like this. We can't really do this. Okay. Why we can't do this? I will show you right now. So we are getting the nodes and we are returning a response with the nodes. Now the problem is that how we can trigger this function. We are going to trigger this function by an URL. So here we are going to have a path for the API dash get nodes. Get nodes is when we are going to hit this URL, we have to import from nodes app import views. So because in the views we did this function. So when we are going to the API get nodes, we want to trigger the views dot get nodes, and it's going to have a name of, this is not get nodes, it's not something that is going to help us the name. So when we are going to this URL, we want to hit this function nodes. Let's see. So we are going to the terminal, activate the environment, the sorry, virtual machine. So we go to the Django. Let's go to the normal URL. So if you go to admin, we see admin. But if you go to the URL, API get nodes, we should be getting the nodes, but we are getting a response that object of type node is not a JSON serializable, which means that you can't actually send everything. So we kind of have to convert this data into a more readable data, okay? And how we are going to do this is to create a folder serializer.python, and the serializer is going to have from serialize Django, no, REST framework, import serializers. So we are going to have a model class node serializer that's going to be inherited from serializers dot serializer, and is going to have a meta, which means that this class uh, is going to help us convert the objects from the backend, like the nodes, into a readable data. So we have to import this node, import from models, import node. So class meta is going to have the node fields are going to be all. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm filming. Yep, I am recording. That's good. Okay, so we are going to have the meta, which is going to specify the nodes. Okay. Um, and if I remember right, this is going to be in the meta. We are going to add everything. So we have the meta, which is going to be have so class meta is something like which class I'm going to be serializing. So it's going to serialize the model node. Sometimes I have this. I don't have a really good memory, sometimes I forgot the syntax. Okay, so the model is going to be node, and the fields is going to be all. And you don't have to remember everything, okay? As long as you know what stuff does, you maybe can write it somewhere. Uh, I usually, if I write bad syntax, I get the error. I kind of understand that, okay, this is going to be an error. Okay, so now we can go to the views, import this serializer. So import serializers, or from serializers, import node serializer. And now we are going to do something like serialized data is going to be equal to node serializer. So we're going to give this node serializer the nodes that we got from the backend, from the database nodes, and we're going to specify many equal to true, because there are a lot more. So now we are going to be sending the serialized dot data. And now if we go to the, we are going to restart the server to see that we are not having any errors. So I hope that no, something's not good. So we go to the models. Let's see what's not okay. Not to the models, to the serializers. So you are importing the node from REST framework, should be the serializer. Class node serializer is inherited from serializer dot model serializer. It's like an inheritance that is going to get the data from here and do the logic for us. So convert the data into more readable data. As I said, so the nodes so we are getting all the nodes from the database, and we have to return more readable data. Okay, imagine a string or a JSON format into serialized data. And we want to return this data. And now if we go to the, let's see, delete those, delete this, delete this. Let's reopen the server, and I hope that I'm not having another errors. No module name serializers. Let's see. Let's name it serializers. This is the standard name. Go to the view from serializers, import no serializer with a dot. Okay, it's fine with a dot because the serializers is in the same path as the view. So we are in the view and we want to import from the same path the serializer, no serializer. Okay, so from here we import this. Okay, now the server works, and we go to the API nodes, API / get nodes, and we can see all the nodes from the database. Now we can see them because this is what the serializer did. It converted them into some objects, so we can actually see them and send this to the front end. So this is what we want to do. We want to take these objects and in the front end add this URL, and from this URL we can get the data. Okay, that's the idea. What we did? Well, we go to the URL API-get node, which triggered the get nodes function, which got all the nodes from the database, serialized them, and returned the data. Okay, and this is going to help us get the data into the front end. Okay. Okay, so we just took a break. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy listening to music while I'm coding. Okay, so as we said, we are going to give this data from the backend, and now we want to get it to the front end so we can show it to the user. Okay, so the URL that triggers this function is in the backend, and URL API-get nodes. We are going now into the front end, to the source, into the components, um, to the node, because here is where we are rendering the node. No, into the body. This is where we are rendering the data. Right now we have this data, but we are going to delete this data, and we want to initialize a variable data set data use state. Initially is going to be an empty array, so we are not going to iterate to anything. So we just want to make sure that both servers are on. We can go to the React, and we are not having anything here. Okay, right now this is how you initialize data in the React. You use the use state where you put the value, initial value, the variable that is going to get this initial value, and with the function that you want to, let's say, change the value. Because in React you can do something like const var data equal to 5 data plus plus, because it's not going to work, because you need to use state for the component to be re-rendered. So if I leave the data empty, let's do something like this: const or just var x equal to 5. Okay, so let's console log or have here a div with this 5. Okay, so the variable x, and let's just have a button, and on click I want to increase the x, so x plus plus, and you will see that I'm still going to be seeing 5. So let's make this x style color of white so you can see it. Here is the x, so I'm pressing the button but you cannot see this x increasing, but it is increasing. But the problem is that it's not re-rendering the data, so this component is not getting re-rendered. If we want to trigger the re-rendering, so something is changed, so we want to re-render the whole body with the new value, we had to use set data. So if we would have something like x set x equal use state of 5, and now we will use state to increase the x. Okay, so now What I'm going to do, uh, previous +1. Okay, wait a bit. So x, set x 5, style color white. Let's add something here. To increase on click. Okay, on click. So we are going to see the variable increase. But if we did just something like this, x plus plus, this wouldn't have worked. Okay, it's just not working. And we can actually do something like on click. I want to have a handle function, handle const handle, which is just going to increase the value of the x. So this is not going to work anyways. Let's say var x equal to 5. So this is a function that gets this variable, increase it. On click, we will trigger this function and increase the value of the variable. So it's not getting increased, but it is actually getting increased. So if we also look the x, we can see that it's getting increased. So let's see. On click handle. Okay, let's see why it's not working. Console log triggered. So I'm clicking this, it's not getting triggered. Handle. So on click, I want to handle this function. This function is console login triggered. Let's see why it's not working. Let's open another. I don't know why this is not working. Let's just add the function handle like this. Okay, and I'm triggering the function, and now I want to increase the value of the variable. So let's print the variable x like this. So you can see that it got to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but we still can't see that because this whole component is not getting re-rendered. Okay, but if we would have did something like set x to previous value +1, so const x set x, use state. Every time we change this variable, is going to trigger the re-render of the component. Okay, set like this, just a bit. So previous result, previous program, or we can just x +1 should work properly, but that's not the problem. Use state, this kind of break parentheses. Okay, so now you can see that it's getting increased because we are using use state, which is something like, okay, the value got changed, so we have to re-render the page with the new value. That's it. So this is the data, it's an empty array. What we want to do now is to get the data from the backend. And we can do this with Axios or fetch. Let's see what we should use. I think that we are going to use the Axios because it's a bit easier. But to be able to use Axios, we have to go into the front end. So we are in the back end, this terminal, the other one, front end. Control C to close the server and hit, let's see, npm install Axios. So it's going to install something that we're going to use to get the data from the backend. And now what you want to do, we're going to use a function called useState. useState imagine it's like a function that is getting triggered once we start the server, okay? And then once we start the server, we want to try and get the data from the back. And if we can't, we are going to print error. We couldn't get the data, so error. But in the try catch, we're going to try to get the data. So this is going to be a function here, const handle data. It's going to be an async function. It's going to help us use await. So what is await? So we are going to have a response from the backend, what you saw on the page with the objects and elements. Okay, response is going to be equal to await axio dot get, but I think that we have to import axios. Okay, so import axios from axios. So await axios dot let's see, get, because we are having a get request and we have to post the URL. So this is going to be the backend 8000 because the server for the backend and API gate nodes. Okay, so we are going to post this here. So what we saw on that page with the nodes is going to be returned to the response. Okay, after we get this data, we still have to uh, actually it should be fine. Why the Axio does not work? Axios, sorry, Axios. Okay, now we can console log the response so you can see it. So console log response, and now I'm going here into the React. We have to restart the server because we stopped it. So npm start. I just want to make sure that I'm filming everything. Okay, that's good. Let's close some tables, some tabs. Inspect console. We can't really see it, but let's why? Because we have a use state, a function that starts when we start the application. So console log started. Okay, so we started the application, and you can see once we start the application. So let's hit a refresh. You can see that we console this, and when we start the application, we want to trigger this function. Okay, so trigger the function for us to get the data into the response and print it. So let's see, we got the data. So what's the problem now? We got a course error because the Django is smart, so we have a backend where we have some data, and the React tries to go to the backend and say, hey, I want the data. Django is going to be something like, I don't know who the fuck are you, so I'm not going to give you a fuck. Okay, so we have to do something. So Django course. So this is how we are going to allow React to get the data from the Django. So I have to do some installs. Uh, go to the backend server, close it, and go to Django course headers. So I installed what I needed. In the install depths, we are going to need this one. So go to the backend, to the settings, the main configuration, install depths, okay, course headers. Now in the middleware we are going to need this stuff. Okay, and we are going to have more choices, so we can allow everyone. We can allow only some types of uh, let's say servers to access our database. So here we can specify the servers, but because it's just a little course to learn some basics, I'm just going to take the allow all. Okay, so course allow all origins. So down here, paste it and say equal to true, so everyone can access my database, because I'm not going to post this, just a project to learn some new stuff. Let's restart the server, go to the inspect console. Let's try to see if you have the backend server opened. No, we don't have. So Python manage.py run server. Now it's on. Let's restart the React. Clear this one. Restart the server. It blanked. Okay, let's just go to the terminal. npm start. I don't know what happened. Just crashed or something. Okay, console inspect console. We got the response, uh, which is going to give us a status and stuff like this. And we can see a status of 200 of okay. So the response is okay, but the response is going to have a data. Okay, this is the data. This is actually the backend that is giving us the nodes. Okay, so we can do something like front end components body. If the response, so if the response is okay, status equal to 200, we want to console log the data. So 200, from what you can see, we got a status of 200 because the data is good. It's okay, everything works fine. So we are having here the data. So this data I want to add to this variable data. So as I said, we can say data equals to response. We are going to use set data and add here response.data. And now you can see that we got the data from the back, right? But the difference is that we are not going to have, so the data from the back is going to look like ID, name, and description. So here we are going to have, note that ID, and in the note, we are going to have note that title, and note that description should be good. Let's see. Name, description, so it's name. Okay, let's see. So this is the data from the backend. So if I go to the backend and create another node, I'm going to be able to see it. So that's pretty nice. Let's create a way that we can add data. Okay, so when I hit to the plus, I want to get a page that asks me to add data. So let's see, let's make another page. Input dot javascript, an arrow function that is going to have kind of the same look. So go to the screens, notepad, and copy everything here because it's going to look the same, but we are not going to have the this body or the footer or the node body. We're just going to have the node body. Okay, so let's see. um, how we can do this. Firstly, I want to show you how we can change the pages. So something like if I'm on the, this is the main page, I go to the add node, so it has to send me to another page, right? So how we can do this routing stuff? We go to the front end terminal and npm install react router down. Okay, in the main components, so in the app we are going to import some stuff. Import browser, uh, should be fine. Let's see, browse router as router. So this is too long, so we are going to call it by router. We are going to need route and routes from the React router DOM. We can't really see this, so let's see why. So yes, npm install react router DOM. So it's getting installed. Let's try this again. Okay, let's see. React router DOM. Oh, okay, what we are going to do, we are going to say that the app for us is just a browse router. Okay, so it's just a router. So we are going to have a browse router here, but we called it as router, so it's just shorter. Okay, like this. Okay, uh, we are going to have some routes. Okay, and the main route is going to be, let's see, when we are on the main page, we want to render the component. Which one? The main component. So notepad, notepad, notepad. So let's see if everything works fine. So npm start. I'm going to close it because it's going to open another one. And when we are on the main page, it should render the notepad. And doesn't work. Was not found in the, let's see, browse router, browser. Okay, browser router. Okay, and it's working. So when I'm on the, I don't know, add page, so add note, I want to render the import add, so or input, note input, how I called it, input. I called it input. So input. So if you go to the add note, we are on the input. Okay. Why I'm not getting the data? Let's see. Well, I close the backend. So Python. We have to have the server on because two servers are communicating. One is getting the data, and one is offering it. So if you go to the add note, this is going to render this component, okay? And this component is going to have an input. So let's say placeholder, an input with a placeholder of enter, name of the node, or just name, and it's going to have a text area, which is going to have a placeholder of enter, description, okay, description. Now we can see this data right here. Let's style it a bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a div that's going to get these elements. The div is going to have a class name of input field. Let's style this a bit. So click here. See that now is rendering the node body because that's the route that we asked it for. Okay, so node body input field is going to give, we are going to give it a background white so you can see it, a width of 80%, a height of 80%. Okay, let's tell the node body to align the item center. So justify content, actually display flex direction column, justify content center, align the center column, because the node body is going to render the nodes, because the same class that the nodes container are having, so we want to have the nodes one after the other. So let's show this to you. So if we go to the main page, let's style this node here, node body. So it's going to have a display flex. So I want the flex direction to be column. Okay, align item center, justify content center. So it's aligning everything into the center. It's just put it to align everything into the center. So body node body, align everything into the center. Now we can go back to, sorry, to add node, there into the center. uh, Input field, as I said, is going to have a background color of white, align item center. Just never mind, let's delete this thing a bit. Let's give it a bit of 95%, a height of 95%, maybe a bit smaller. Okay, let's say 70%, and here 80%. Okay, this is going to have a border color of 2 pixels, solid white. We are going to delete the background because you can see the border, just border. Okay, just border. Okay, let's tell this input field to align the items into the center. So light item display flex direction column. Okay, align item center, justify content center. I deleted the height, so the height was around 80%, right? Okay, something like this. So let's copy this, add it down. So I'm going to delete this one. So what I want to do is the input I want to be the top. Okay, so we are going to say input field, and the input is going to have a margin bottom of auto. So it's going to push the text area down as he is going to be up. Let's add the position of relatives. So we can say top 5 RAM, give it a width of 90%, height of 5 RAM, the text align center, color white, and the background color transparent. So I'm not going to have a background color, it's going to be something like this. Okay, do the same for the text area. So text area, what I want it to be bigger height, so around, if that's too much, nah, it looks fine. Let's eliminate the border now so we can see everything. So the name, description, I deleted the border. Okay, that's my note. What I can do is just add the header back because it looked pretty good. So go to the input, see, so we can import the components, footer, and we can import now the header because I like how they look. So we're going to have the header right here. So we can see the header, node count, header only one, this no count. Let's do something like this. So for the header, I'm going to send the text equal to, let's see, note input, okay, and and that's it. Note input. We go to the header. We have to get this note input. I called it as text, right? Text. So I'm going to do something like this. If text is not empty, then we are going to print the text, or we're going to print note list. So right now it's should, let's see, what I did wrong. So the input is sending text, not input, to the header. We're getting this. Okay. Objects are not valid as React child. Object with keys, text, you mean into the collection of children, use an array instead. So let's see something. Maybe that's the problem in the notepad. The body, let's see. No, it's fine. That's not the problem. So we go back to the header. Uh, what's the problem here? If the text is not empty, and maybe if it's existing, okay, so uh, let's give the text from the body too, okay, so know what to print. So when we are on the main page, in the note page, and here we are going to send the text as note list. What's the problem? Text equal to note list. So we are sending the text from the body as the note list, and we are sending from the input for the header as the note input. Maybe it's because just a string, it shouldn't be like an object, so it's just a normal string. Okay, that's not a problem. I'm filming, right? Yep. Let's see. Inspect console. Objects are not valid as a React child. Okay. Let's see. What can be the problem? So I'm going to give it a key of 1 here, and here a key of 2. Maybe the key can be the problem. Objects are not valid as React child. Font object with the keys text. Let's see what can be the problem. Let's do something different. So we are going to have a text is going to be equal to note input, and we're going to send this text here. So text, so we are going note input, and here the same. So const note title, note title is going to be equal to note list. So here the title is the text is going to be equal to note title. Okay, let's delete this one. Let's delete the key. So note title is equal to note list for the notepad. So when we render the header from the notepad, we are going to send the note list as the text, and we are rendering when we are rendering the header from the body, from the input, we want to have note input, and in the header we have to get this text. Maybe the syntax is wrong here. Let's just delete this a bit. So the problem is not with the text, okay? So you can send it without this type. What can be the problem? So let's do something like this. If the text exists, let's do it like this. So if the text exists, then we are going to render text. Okay, so we're going to render the text. And not here. Let's delete this one a bit. I just want to I don't understand what's the problem. It's filming. Yep. Let's try something else. I have no idea what's why it doesn't work. So let's go to the title. So the note is getting the title, the header is getting the text. Let's do something like this. So we're going to have the old h3, which is going to render text dot data. Okay, so what we're going to do in the so we're going to send an object. I thought that we can send it to more user, but from what I can see, it doesn't really work. So we are sending an object that contains a data. Okay. Uh, oh, I got this. Uh, we can just put the data here. Okay, so we are no, the text is fine. The text is fine here. So we are getting a text from the notepad and from the input. So when I'm rendering the notepad, so the main page, we are getting the text note list. And when I'm rendering the input, we are getting the text as note title. But we have to do something like this. So const note title is going to be an object that is going to have title equal to note input. So when we are sending the text, we want to send the note title dot title and do the same in the notepad. So we're going to have an object note title that's going to have a title note list. Okay, and we want to send to the text note title dot title. This should work right now. It's working. Okay, so we are sending an object. Okay, not just a string. Maybe okay, so let's explain this again. So when we are on the main page, we are rendering which object. So when we are on the main page, we are rendering the notepad. Okay, so the notepad is having a header and it's sending to the header a text note title dot title. So the note list. So the header, what is doing? Is rendering, is getting that text and is rendering it. Okay, but when we are on the add page, add note, So it's getting rendered the input field. We are having an object node title, and now the text is going to be node title with the value node input, and the header is going to get that text and put it right here. Okay. Yes, that's good. I don't really want the count, so we can do something like this. If text, oh no, let's just delete the count or set if you want the count or not. So I think that the count is not going to hurt that much, but we can delete this if we want. We can do something like print count. If print count is true, so if print count is true, then we are going to print this little stuff, then we are not going to print anything. So else, so if print count is true, then we want to show count 0, else show nothing. Okay, so that's the whole idea. What's the problem here? Let's see. Okay, if the print count is true, print count, else don't print count. So the notepad body wants to see the print count. So print count is going to be true. So it's going to be, sorry, like this. So it's going to, we are going to do print count going to be equal to print count, not title dot print count. So we want to print the count when we are on the node page, but when we are on the input page, we don't want to print it. So here the print count is going to be false. So print count is going to be equal to print count. Let's see what's the problem. So in the header, this should be the problem. The syntax is killing me sometimes. Print count is not defined. Print count, maybe I made a typo. We can do just something like print count is going to be true from the main page, and print count is going to be false if you're on the input page. So print count in the input page should be false. So we shouldn't be seeing the count. So we go to the header. Let's do it like this. It's okay, so we can see the print count right now. What's the idea? Print count is not an object, okay? It's just true or false. That's the idea. Good. No, okay, so if you are on the main page, we can see the count. If you are on the add node, we can see the count. Here we are going to write the input for the code, for the node, the title, and the description. And we have to save this data. So in the input, we are going to have const node title set node title is going to be equal to use state, and it's going to be empty, an empty string firstly, and the node description is going to be set node. It's going to be empty too, so this is still filming. Okay, uh, good, everything's fine. Anytime I write something here, so on change, I want to have a function, so a function that is getting the event, so what I'm writing here, and it's going to have a resulting a function which is going to, so it's something like when we when we change something on this input, we get the input data and we want to set the node title with this input data. Okay, so a dot target that value. Okay, and do the same for the node description. So on change, we want to set node description to the a dot target that this value. Okay, so we can use effect. So as I said, this is rendering the first part where the first time we render the page. But if I add some dependencies, so node title, node description, every time the node title or the node description changes, we can trigger this function. So console log, let's console the node title and console log the node description. So right here, I'm going to write something. So console and try to see if they're getting changed. So we can see the name and we can see the name is working, okay, but the node description is not working properly. Set node description the target on can play on change, please, on change. So we can see the name and we can see the description. Okay, so we are getting what we are writing right here. Good, good, good. Okay, when we are clicking the button, let's say button save note, we want to trigger a function. So on click is going to be handle request. So it's going to be a function that is going to const handle request, going to be an async function, async. And what this is going to do is going to, as we did before when we requested the data, now we want to add data. So we're going to do something like try and add the data. If you can't, just console log the error. An error. So I console log an error, a message. Okay, we can get the error here, error, and print it. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, const response is going to be axio dot, so you have to import the axio, okay, that post is going to be a post request, and we have to do the same thing as before. So in the notepad, no, in the node, in the body, we requested an URL for the get nodes, okay, but here we are going to request an URL for adding the node, but this time we have to send the body. Okay, so the body is going to be something that we want to send. Okay, so how we are going to do this? Well, every time we change the node title and node description, in the handle request, what I want to do is to create an object. So let's say, let's make it easier a bit. So we are going to have const node data. It is going to have a name, which is empty at first. It's going to have a description, which is empty at first. So what our backend nodes look like? Okay, they are having a name and a description. Am I right? Body, name, description. Okay, that's good. So they are empty at first. So anytime when we're triggering here's the title or description, we want to save this here. So in the use effect, this is not the most efficient way, but I want to make the code as short as possible so you can keep up. What we could also do is just and actually that's good. So anytime we change the title and description, we want to add this here. So we're going to create a node const updated node is going to be equal to, is going to have the name node title, so what you wrote down, and the description node description. Okay, and you want to put this update node here, so this has to be initialized like the other variable. So we are going to have const node data set node data use state is going to be null firstly, and when we put something on the title on or in the description, if the node title is not empty and the node description is not empty, what we want to do is to this update node to add it to the node description. So set node description is going to get this update node. So this update node is going to be added to the, not to the node description, to the node data. Okay, it's like something like node data equals to updated node. Good, that's good. Okay, everything's filming. Now, when we are requesting the, we are going to make an APR for the something like create node. So when we are requesting the create node, we have to send the actual data. So add a comma here and just add the data that you want to send. So the data is saved in the node data. And that's it. Okay. If response, okay, if response dot okay, so status equal to 200, console log node created. Okay, handle request. What is going to do if we want to save the node but we didn't add the requirements? So the update node dot name, the node data dot name or node data dot description is empty. So we try to handle the submit. So if node data dot first, if the node data is not null, and so if it's not null, or we can do this some, if we can do, if it's not null, then search for the name. So if the name is not empty and the node data dot description is not empty, because initially it's null. So when we start the page, maybe someone is going just to click add note. So we can't find the name and description, is going to be null. So if it's not null and the description is not empty, or if it's not null and the description, let's do something like this. If no data is null, alert, put some data into the fields. And we can just return nothing because we want to break this function. If no data dot name is an empty string, alert add name and just return nothing. If node data dot description is going to be empty, the same alert add description and just return. Okay, else we go to this URL and send the data. So in the backend we have to create this URL. So let's go back to the backend. So backend, firstly let's create a URL. So path is going to be API slash create node. We are going to call the function API create node, name equals to create node. We don't have this function, we're going to be creating it. So in the views, here, def, so it's going to be an API view of post. We want to post data. Def create node. So create node request. So this is going to get data. So we are going to do something like name is going to be equal to request dot data dot get. We're going to get the name, the description, request dot data dot get, the description. So in the front end, we go to the screens input. We are going to be sending the node data, which is having name and description. Okay, just to make sure that you understand what we are doing. So we are going to get those fields and just uh, create the node. So node is going to be equal to the class node that create, that object that create, and we want to create a node with the name equal to this name and the description equal to this description. Node that save and return response. HTTP, we have to import something, so Django HTTP response. We should be having some libraries right here. 200 methods. So I want the import because I don't really remember the import. So import this one. So let's import this one and response HTTP dot OK or no HTTP dot OK. That's good. Now let's try it. So we just want to make sure that the backend is running. Okay, the backend is running. Let's add node test and just run. Oh sheesh, something happened. So when I'm trying to click on the description, I get an error. So in the front end, we go to the input. So on change, set node description and the targeted value. What's wrong? I have the button here. Maybe it's clicking the button. Um, let's just have an arrow function or some uh, have an arrow function or something, or and this should be fine. But let's give this class. Let's put this into a div. Okay, and make the text area a bit smaller so they can. It's not overflowing too much. It's like this. Now it's working. Okay, so test note. Test. No, what are you not doing what I want? So text note. No, data is not a function. No, it's not necessarily bad that you can see the problems. Set note description. Let's just delete this a bit and the request. Wanna see what's triggering that stuff? Okay, note data is not a function. This is the console log. Note data is not a function. Note data. When we change the note title and when we change the note description, we want to create an update node with those inputs. And the node title is not empty and node description not empty, node data. Node data, no. We want to set node data. We want to give to the node data the updated data, okay? So let's add the little button back. So button on save. So on click, just go and trigger the handle request. We can put this thing like that. Let's see. Title test, title description, save. Let's see if we got a lot of errors. Pack, save. We want to trigger to console log if everything works fine. So let's just console log node created, save, not created. I think that the response is not response status. Let's print the response. So console log the response, so you can see. So response, okay, save, and the response is going to give us the it's going to get the data. So if oh no, I don't want to delete this one, so put the back handle request. So if the response dot data dot if response dot data let's print log. I don't know what's I wanted to get from the backend the 200 response. So HTTP status of okay. So I'm getting the okay response. So I can just say something like if response dot okay. I think that should work pretty good. Save. Nope. Let's see if we print this type of response what we are getting. So print the response, save, we go to the object, we got an object. What we can do is get the const response data is going to be equal to response that JSON that no response that JSON and console of the response data. Just a second. Response that data should be enough actually. So response that data. I want to see what the response that data is printing us. So save, undefined, save again. So it's undefined. Console response that data. Oh, we have to add an await, okay? Because what await does is that we are going to wait for the API to give us the actual data. This is why we are making the function async, so we can use the await. Await is something like, okay, we are going to wait for the response. We are not going to move to the next code. So we have to do this in the body too. Actually, here I'm having the wait. So let's see. This was the problem. Book 200. Okay, now it should work. I forgot the wait. Okay, that was the problem. So we are waiting for the response. So what was the problem? I was trying to print the response before getting it. So we are adding a wait. So wait for the response. Then if response that status is going to be dot data is going to be equal to 200 console log node created. Now everything should work fine. So let's add another node, save, node created. Okay, so I didn't saw the wait stuff. Let's see if the nodes were created. So go back to the main page. So we can see a lot of random nodes right here. Okay, I want to press the button and send me to this add node. So in the notepad, we have the footer that is having an add button. So we're going to import link. Okay, so this add button is going to have a link which is going to send us so to add node, because we have to go to add notes. Okay, so this is going to send us the add notes. Let's see, add note, beautiful. um, okay, let's do a bit of style here. Style, margin 0, padding 0, and make it a bit to the left. So position of relative and left of 10 pixels, maybe 15. Okay, 20. That's good. Okay, uh, this is just to see. We're not going to style it that much. Just want to see how things work. When I hit save, I want to be sent back to the main page. So we can go to the input. If everything is fine, we can import. Import. Let's see. Uh, what was called redirect. So redirect. Okay, redirect, and we can. Let's see. We can redirect the user. So if or use history, and we're going to have a const history equal to use history, and when everything works fine, we want to history.push go send us to the main page. Okay, use history was not found. Oh yeah, because the use history was replaced, so we can actually use something else. I think it was called use navigate. Let's see. So in change of history, it's use navigate. Use navigate. I should work pretty the same. So navigate, use navigate, and we want to navigate, navigate to the home page. Let's see. So everything works fine. I'm adding a note, save, and I was sent back to the main page. Okay. Everything looks fine. Good. Now, when I want to make the update. So when I'm clicking a note, let's do something like this is what I can see that this is getting overflow. So the body one note is up here. So not body is not allowing the overflow. Okay. The header and the let's set the position of relative here. I don't like the fact that the nodes are getting too up. So let's see what we can do. So this node field, so the header is having a position of relative. The body is letting the overflow, so we can scroll, but some are getting up, so some elements are position of relative. Let's just put a bit of margin, so position of relative and a bit of top. Oh my god, there are too many on the top. Why is this happening? So node field, position of relative, pointer, okay, cursor pointer, top. So from what you can see, there are a lot of nodes up. Let's see why. So the body is allowing the scroll. Let's delete a bit the scroll. Body overflow hidden. So overflow hidden. So we can't scroll anymore, but I actually want to be able to scroll so I can see all the nodes. The problem is that the body is having a height, so we have to let it get its own height. So height fit content, okay, so they're not going to, so they can be added into the body, all of them. So now they're having a height. So let's go to the body, CSS, body, not body. We are going to eliminate the height. No, leave the height here and allow the overflow. Actually, so if I go to the body, so body, overflow, scrollable, but for the X is hidden. Let's eliminate a bit the height. Not going to do anything. Let's see what we can do. So the node, it's fine. The body should not let its content go past it. So the fact that there are too many on the app. What if we eliminate from the not body, body, the overflow at all? It's going to be visible. That's not what I want to do. Anyway, we are going to make a filter here anyway, so I'm not going to care so much about the styling because we are going to make some filtering here anyway. Okay, I want to see the count. Okay, so the idea is that I want to see the count. How we can see the count? So in the notepad, I'm having the header, and the header is rendering the count, but in the body we're getting the data, so we somehow have to get the number of nodes into the header. That's the idea. What if I'm eliminating from the notepad the header, okay, and adding it into the body? This could solve the overflow problem. So do something like this and have just something to render everything. So everything has to be covered into something. Okay, we have to go to the note, header, notepad, and get this thing too, so we can send it. So body is going to have this thing too to send to the header. Let's see, we have to import the header, so import header. It's still kind of the same thing, but now we can send the data to the header more easy. There are a lot of ways we can use context, but I want to make it as simple as possible. So we added the title with the body, because in the body we are having the actual count of the nodes, so we can send this to the header. So count is going to be equal to, let's see, data dot length. Okay, we can get the count in the header, so we are going to have here something like this. So we are going to print the variable count, okay, count, and get this from the body, count. And we can see the actual count. Let's be able to delete it also. Go to the note, see the title description, and read it. So it's going to be similar to the input. So let's just take the input, make another screen, note, pay note, just note. Okay, so let's import everything, add it here. Okay, it's going to look similar. So when I clicking on the note, I want to be sent to something like note dash 1, note dash 2, note dash 3, note dash 4, note dash 5. So every note has to be having a page. Okay, so what we are going to do is going to have in the app.js a route with a path of dash node dash, let's see, primary key, or yeah, like this, or just the ID. Okay, so it's going to be an ID, and it's going to render a component input. So not the input, the nodes node. So we can add here the actual node. Okay, everything looks nice. So we are going to have the page node dash 1 2 3 4 4, and it's going to render a page node. Let's see. So if I go to the node dash 1, let's see what's the problem. Maybe I made a type or something. We're getting the node. And if the node exists, okay, let's just create another component. So wait a second. Node screen. Oh, let's call this node personal page. Okay, rfc. So this is going to be class name of node personal page. So let's render this node here. We are already using the node for another component, so node personal page. This should work now. So from what you can see, if I go to the, we are already using the node. So if we go into the body, we are having a node component. Okay, body. Okay, that I'm good. Just want to see something. If I go back to the first page, I can see the node. Let's see why. Because I deleted the component that is giving me the node. So it's going to be a problem. So if we go to add node, we get the input. If we go to node page, go to the main page. Okay, if we go to the main page, so node page, I called it bad, I know. We have a body which is rendering the node, import node. Now the problem is that we deleted the component node. Okay, that's going to be a problem. Let's create it back. So node.js, and this is the int. This was for the The node page is having the body, and the body is rendering the header and the node. Okay, so this node. I don't know for what was this one. For the input, but we are having the input here. Maybe, yeah, I created, we should have been creating that. So we had the input page, the node page. I deleted the component node right here. That's going to be the problem. So let's create it back. I think that it had, the node was getting the, let's see, from the body, the node is getting the node, the actual node. So node, and it was just rendering an h1 of node that title and the paragraph of node that description. I hope that I solved the problem. So import, let's delete this, import node from node. Has been already declared. Nope, delete this one. Okay, we cannot see them. Let's see, because they are just some plain divs. So what style I added to the node? Node body, no. Header, title, count, footer, node field. I think that it was node field or node body and node field. Let's see. So let's try the node body. Node class name node body. Okay, here it was name. I guess. I think. Let's see. H1, go wash car, go. Okay, node body. And inside I think that I had the, this should be the node field, and this is the, okay, I saved it. Okay, so what I did is, so just to make everything clear, I wanted to create a screen for the node. When we click a node, it's going to send that to the node page, but we already have a component node that is just rendering the node. Okay, so what we can do is go to the screens and add node screen, and this should be the page for the node, and it's going to be similar to the node input. So node screen is going to be similar to the node input, so it's going to have this header. Okay, yeah, see, I'm going to put here, so const node title is going, so I'm going to send title as node page and print count as false. Okay, so when we are going to this path, we want to render import node screen. Okay, so be careful with the naming of the elements. Let's see, in node screen we have to delete some stuff. We don't have this one. Actually, we can use those because it's the node screen. So the node screen is going to have the node title and node description. So we can go to input, copy the node title and the description, and when we start the page, those are going to be equal to the actual node. So when we go to the node screen, what we need to do is to get a request from the backend to send us the node with ID. So I'm in the app.js. So if I go to the node /1, I want to get to render the node screen, and in this component to get the node with ID 1. If I go to node/2, I want to go to the node screen and get the ID with the component 2. So how to achieve this? First, let's see how to go to this URL. So let's just delete the stuff, node screen, delete this, delete this for a moment, delete this for a moment, delete this for a moment. Okay, so when I go to the node, so I click this one, I want to be sent to the node 1. Okay, when I click this one, I want to be sent to the node dash 2. And all of them are rendering the same component node page that we created right now. But the problem is that when it's 2, I want to render the node with the 2 ID. When it's 1, I want to render the node with the 1 ID. Okay, so let's see how we can go to this page. So if I click this one, I want to be sent to a place. So the body is rendering these nodes. So you just do something like the node is going to be a link, okay, which is going to have a style of text decoration none. So I want to delete the text decoration, and on click is going to be sending me to the URL node. So node dash the ID of the node. So let's see, node that ID. Okay, so let's see. The first one node slash ID, this one node slash ID, this one node slash ID, and so on. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm filming. That's good. Next. So every node. So let's just explain. We have a route named node slash ID. When we go to node slash ID, we are entering the node screen. Okay, this screen that I copied from the node input because they are similar. Okay, so in the body, we are rendering the nodes. So every node is going to be an actual link that sends us to the node slash 1 or 2 or 3 or the ID for the node. So you can see this node is sending me to the node and his ID. So we want to get this ID and the data for this node with this ID. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to be the same as the body. So const handle data. So we go to the node screen. So when we render the node screen, we want to, I had to add use effect, use effect. Okay, like this. So use effect is going to have a function. I want to call this function and restart the page. Okay, and then we restart the page. You want to go to the API-get node. Okay, add this stuff here. Get node and the ID of the node. So the URL is going to give me the ID of the node. So we need to get this ID. How? So as I said, let's import the Axios first. So import Axios. Let's not handle the data right now. ID set data. Let's just add the one here or something. Okay, we don't have set data. So set data, just comment this one. So what I want to do now to explain again, I'm going to this node. It's getting me to the node dash his ID. Okay, I want to get this ID and tell the backend give me the node with this ID to render its components. Okay, so this is going to be get node and its ID. Let's just do this API. So here we need to add the node ID. So how we can do this? Let's see. We can use params. So import use params. So const id is going to be equal to use params. Okay, and here we just need to put the id. The id is getting from here. Okay, we can console log the id so you can see it. So node screen console log the id, and we go to this node console log, and you can see its ID here. So now let's create the view in Django that it's called API get node and ID. So we go to the backend, nodes, backend URLs. So we are going to have a path of API that get nodes that it's with a dash after this. Yes, it's going to be a string of type primary key. We are called views.get node and name get. So let's create this get node, which is going to get this ID. So get node views is going to be an API view of get, yes, def get node request. Okay, and is going to do the same as the get nodes, but it's going to be only one node, and object dot get, so objects node objects dot get, where ID is equal to the primary key. So the primary key is so we have API get node and the URL, this one. This is sent from the front end. In the front end, backend, front end, source, components, screens, node input, node screen. We are calling this data API get node and the ID. This ID is got in the URL from the backend. So this one, and is sent to the view get node. So view get node here. So we get the node with this ID. Man is going to be false and be sending the data back. Okay. Just to show you that everything's fine. So if I go to the Django, go to the get nodes, or I think I called API.get nodes. Let's take the ID for the, and now get node dash the ID, and it's sending me this node. So this is what we want to do on the front end. Okay, this is the response. Okay, now it should be working. So in the front end node screen, we want to uncomment the handle data. So handle data, so use effect is going to call handle data when you start the page and try to get the API with the ID from the page. If everything works perfectly, console log the data and set data response dot data. Set data is just going to be the node title. So not the node title. Sorry, we are going to need to have const node data, set node data. It's going to be your state is going to be null at first. So set node data with the response.data. Okay, so we can print the data here too, so you can see it too. In the React, we go to this one, inspect, console log, got an error, not found. Okay, so the API is not found. Get node, we need to add another dash here, like this. You can see the response, the data. Okay, and that response is set to the node data, and you want to print it here. Okay, so we're going to have const title or name, or how it's called here, name, set name, use state is going to be empty at first, const description, set description is going to be use state empty at first, and when we go the data, we want to update the name and the description. So set name is going to be equal to response dot data dot, so just the data dot name, and set description response dot data that description. Okay, we can console log them if you want. So response dot data dot name, so you can see this one. So this is the name. So we can print the name here. So in change of placeholder, we're going to be having the name, and change of description, we're going to be having the description. You can see the name and the description. Okay, let's make the inputs have a bigger, so font size 3 to here I am. Input field, so go to the CSS, input field, font size 3 here I am, text area, font size 4 here I am. Okay, so you can see the data right here, the description and stuff. Maybe just 2.5 because it's bigger. Okay, that's nice. What I want to do now, if we change something and hit save, we want to update it, okay? And then say, and that's the back, send us back. So in the screens, no screen, on change, handle update. So we are going to have a function const handle update. Is going to be an async function because we're going to call the backend to make the update for us. So we have the name description. So every time we change the description, we want to update. So set name. So every time we have changing the description as we did before, we are going to have the event, which is going to give us the input element. So set name a dot target that value. Okay, we are going to do the same with the text area on change set description a that target that value. Okay, and when we handle the data, we want to create an object, so not data. So we are going to, we don't need this one actually. We're just going to create an object. Const data is going to be equal to name, is going to have this name. Okay, and the description going to be equal to with the description. Okay, now we want to request the backend to make the update. So let's say update node, and we need to send ID, and we need to send the body, so the data to update. Okay, and we can just console log response dot data, and if everything is fine, just redirect the user back. So as we did before, import use let's see, I don't know why I always forget this stuff. It was called navigate. So const navigate is going to be equal to navigate. Use navigate, sorry. So it's use navigate. Going to be equal to use navigate. So we want to navigate the user back. So they updated everything fine. So navigate back to the main URL. Okay. Else, I don't know, console log error. Good. Or alert. Try again. Okay. We need to create this URL. So it's going to be API. So we go to the backend in the view URL. Let's see, backend URL. So we are having path. This is the API. Here is going to be the primary key sent by the URL. We are going to call views that update node, and the name is going to be update. Okay, so let's create the update node. We go to the views. It's going to be an API view of put because it wants to add data. So update node request is going to get the primary key too. So we have to get the node for which we want to update. So node that objects.get ID is going to be equal to primary key. And we want to update it. So note that name is going to be equal to request that data dot get name, and note that description is going to be equal to request that data dot get description. So what we are sending in the data from the backend, from the front end, return response. So http dot ok, http status dot ok. So let's try it. Set node data handle update in the node screen. So we go to the front, into the node screen, source screens, node screen. The problem is in the handle update set node data. Handle update is this one. Now set node data. So set node data, set node data, set node data. What we were doing here, we were getting the nodes, so we can delete this one because I deleted the object with the node data because I was just using the set name and the name and the description. Okay, now that's fine. So let's see if we let's just firstly create another one. So create test description. Okay, save it. I don't think that I can find it. Test description. Let's update test update test disk update. So save. Let's see console log. So everything should have worked properly. So it didn't went. Maybe the response is not fine. So console log. Let's alert it. Alert response dot status. Okay, and try it again. No, what's happening? So on save handle update, which is having the data. Okay, let's see. Let's clear this one. So just add some random stuff, save, undefined. Let's try in console log to see if console log update. So to see if the function is getting triggered. So save. The function is not getting triggered. That's a problem. Handle update. On click. Okay, on click. Thanks. So test update. Yeah. Save. Try again. Okay, let's see the error. So method not allowed. Let's see why. Well, because we are using post this time. Post. Okay, so test update save. Try again. Let's see why. Method not allowed. Maybe in the backend we didn't add the post. Let's see. In the views, this is a put. It's a put one because we want to update. I said post here. Let's see. Node screen. It's a put one. Sorry. Now save. It's 200 and it got me back to the page. Uh, test update save. Okay, it's not getting updated. This is because of the backend, so we have to hit note that save. Okay, let's try it again. Test upd test save. Okay, it's getting me back. Okay, everything's fine. We can create the delete one now. So let's start this button just a bit. So this button is going to be having let's see, I'm going to send the code. So if you can't follow up, I'm going to send the code. Just try to learn something, okay? You don't have to understand everything. You just have to be patient and try to rewrite the code maybe later. I'm going to be sending you the code and just try to understand it. So we have the node screen. In the node screen we're having this button, so let's have another one for delete. I want them to have to be one after another, so display of flex. Okay, and this is going to be delete. So I want the save to have a background color of transparent, but a border of blue and the color of the text white. The same thing here, but I want the border to be red. Okay, so save or delete. Border is going to be 1 pixel solid, 1 pixel solid, like this. Okay, and the cursor of pointer, this fine. So cursor of pointer here, the same cursor of pointer, uh, handle delete, handle delete, which is going to be exactly the same as the update. So we're going to get the update and add here delete. Well, it's going to request the delete, but it's going to give the ID and not the data. And if we didn't know, send us back. Let's create the delete and we're kind of done. So notes, backend, URL. Let's copy this one and say delete, delete, and delete. And we have to create this function. So in the views, backend, notes, app, and in the views, we are going to have the same function as this one. So API view, this is going to be a delete. So def delete node is going to get the request. The request is the put post etc. So we have to get the node that we want to delete. Node that object dot get with the ID of this ID primary key, node that delete, and send the return response http status that okay. What we can do, try to get the node, except we can return a bad response, you know, a response of bad, or let's see, what type of response I'm having here. I should be having something like bad request, bad request. Okay, so we can do this to every view where we are trying to get the node. Okay, but I'm trying to make the things a bit more simple. Okay, that's just some try and catch in the backend. So let's try and delete the node. Try again. So that's not working. Let's see why. Console delete. Try again. Not working because it's not a put method, it's a delete method. So in the node screen we have to change this to the delete. That delete. Okay, let's try it again. Delete 200 and it got deleted. Let's go test update, delete the test update, and it got deleted. Now all we have to do is to make the search and we are done. So how to make the search? Well, with the components, uh, let's see, components, node, no. We have the body. The body is having the header and the elements that is going to have to be rendering. Okay, what we can do in the screens in the notepad, we are rendering the body or the footer. So I know that, let's see, we can add the footer to the body too. We could use some other stuff to make this work, but I want to make it as easy as possible. So we are just going to add everything into the body. So the body is having the header, the body is having the footer, which we have to import footer. Okay. So we don't really need the We didn't use the node personal page. We don't really need the notepad because it's just rendering the node body. So we can delete this, get the node. So our node body is going to be the actual body component. So we go to the body, add the class name here, node body, and just export the import node, or sorry, body. So body is going to be here in the node body as the main component. Node personal page, where I'm importing node personal page, node personal page, notepad, node, this one we have to delete. Okay, it's the same thing because what was what the node screen was doing, not the node screen, the node body, the node the node page. So the node page is just rendering the body. Okay, so we can just delete this and render the actual body. Okay, so the body is going to have the header, the footer, and the data to be sent. Okay, now the app, we are going to delete the not page here. So the component body is going to do what the notepad uh, screen was doing. It to render header, footer, and data. Okay, that's all. Okay, what we wanna do now, we kinda need this search to be here. So I'm going to go to the footer component and I'm going to copy the search because we're going to be needing it. So let's delete this one, delete the footer, and just add the component here. I meant to make stuff as easier as possible. We could be using some other stuff like use context, but this is going to be more user friendly. So the body is the main page. It's rendering the header, the data, here the data, and the footer. Okay. Oopsie doopsie. Everything is filming, right? Yep. And what's happening? Well, uh, let's delete the footer from here because we just copied the footer element. In the screens, I'm having the footer here. Yep. Okay. Now in the body, we have to import the link for the footer, I think, and import the ad because the footer is having the ad. So import React component as ad from WebKits add button .svg. Now everything looks fine. So when you are searching something, I want to filter the data, so we can do something like this. On change, we want to handle filter. Okay, so we are going to have a function const handle filter, which is going to take our array of data. So our data, okay. We kind of want to send the on change stuff. So on change, we're going to have a function that gets the element that it's written in the input and going to call the on change and send this e on handle filter, sorry. So this send this data from the on change, something like this. Let's see, console log. I'm getting the event a dot target that value, so you can see what I'm trying to explain right now. So in the console, let's just remove clear and write something here. So you can see this is the a dot target dot value. Okay. Now what I want to do is to filter this data. So I'm going to do something like const update array is going to be equal to updated, let's say, data is going to be equal to a.target.value. Okay. No. Sorry. Let's say const filtered text is going to be equal to a.target that value. And what you want to do is to go into this data, the node data that filter, and the filter is going to have the element. So the element is going to be every element from the node, so every node. Okay, in the data we are storing, so remember, in the data we are storing the response to the get nodes. So we are getting the response from the get nodes, so the nodes, and if the response is fine, we add this data into this element of data, and we are rendering everything with the map. Okay, so data.filter, we want to filter every element and return element dot name that contains this filter text. Okay, so this is going to return in the const filtered array. So filtered array is going to be having every element that has the name with the containing filtered text. So if you type here ABC, every element is going to find, so we're going to go on the every element from the data. If the element dot name that contains this ABC, we're going to be returning it in the filter array. Okie dokie. Okay, what we have to do now, I'm just making sure that I'm filming. Leave the OBS here. It's the fourth time that I filmed this, so I really don't want to lose this thing. Okay, now this filter, let's just console log this. Console log filter data. Filtered array, sorry. That's fine. And see if it's working. So had a clear, so let's search for A. Element that the name that contains is not a function. Let's see why. So we are having a title. So I think that we are having title, not name. No, it's a name. It's fine. Not screen. This was into the body. Okay. That name const abc equal to something abc dot contains. We don't have the contains function. Index of, we can use index of, so that index of filter array is equal to -1. So if we are searching for the title, so what we are going to add in the input is going to be added to the filter text. So if we are, and we are going to search the elements that are going to have in the name filtered text. So index of filtered text from the name. If it's going to return -1, it means that it didn't find. So it didn't have the attribute. So we don't want to return if it, so we don't want to return it if the name of the element didn't found the filter text. We want to return if it found. So we just add this thing. So it's the opposite. I kind of need to know some programming for this. So let's see now if it works. So it's empty array. Let's see why. Okay, so search for df. So we can find the elements that contains df, the elements that contains d right here. So what we want to do with those elements to add into the actual data that we are printing. So if filtered array dot length is greater than 1, greater than 0, let's take the set data and add filtered array here. Let's see. D so if we find, okay, what when we are going empty, so I want to return the original value. So what we can do is to kind of store the original value. So let's see, set data filtered array, or just do something like this. Have another element, so filtered array set filtered array, and it's going to be empty. Okay, so let's call this filtered update array. Filtered, just filtered. Okay, filtered. So it's we filtered. Let's just get the filtered array and add the content set filtered array to this one. So else, if it's not else, or we're just going to do something like if filter text is equal to an empty string, just set filtered array to an empty array. Okay, so this is going to be something like if the filtered array found some so if the filter found some elements, it's going to add them into the filtered array, else it's going to make the filtered array empty. So if the filtered array is not empty, we're going to be doing something like this. If the filtered array is not empty, then we want to filter the array data. So filter array data. Else, if it's empty, dot length is greater than 0, filter the array data, else filter the normal regular data. Let's see. DFE and delete everything. Okay, that's good. So let's add a note. Wash car. Please wash the car. Hit save and find wash, and we can find, and if we delete the wash, it's going to get us the regular nodes. Okay, so you can have the nodes. So that's kind of our project as a homework. Maybe you can find how we can not let the nodes go to up. I really don't want to make this video that long for the styling too, so I'm just going to leave it like that. So you learn that you can get nodes from the backend, print them to the front end, stuff like that. So the video was just to learn some basics, and that's all, I guess. We can add. Okay, we can add nodes. What if I want to go back here? Node input. Node input. So screens input. We can just add a button. So back. Handle back, which is just going to be a function, handle back, and it's going to be using the navigate, and it's going to navigate us back. That's good. So we can go back. So add, save, or go back. That's fine. So we can add, delete, update. We can do everything. Let's just see if we can find why the nodes are rendered like this. So the header, what we can do, the node body, Let's remove the height. It's going to make it too big. That's the problem. So what we have to do is leave the height here. So the node body is going to have not allow overflow hidden. Okay. The header, let's just see something. I don't think that they are overflowing. So we are having elements up. Uh, let's see. The header, the body, it's having elements up. Let's see if it's true. Node field, top 5 RAM, position of relative, top 5 RAM. Yep, it's having some nodes up. Let's see why. This is filming, right? Yep. Okay, I will just leave it like that. I don't really know why it's overflowing. Let's just delete some nodes. Uh, the counter works. Let's see why it's overflowing. So the body overflow x hidden. Let's just do something like this. Overflow hidden. So we can't go back or down. Overflow y auto. So it's working. Scroll. Okay, that's good. I think that is just a node. So what we can do is just make the header a bit more up. Let's give a position of relative, not the so the header. The node body is going to allow overflow then. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to allow overflow. Let's just what we can do is to add the header up. So around here, add something to contains everything. And the header is now up this one, so we can still see them. Never mind. So this is the node. We can see that we can add nodes. So go to the gym. Please go to the gym. We can save it. So we can filter them. Go wash car, go to the gym. We can filter for gym. We can delete the node. So go to gym is going to be deleted. Okay. We can gym. We can update the node. So go back. I don't know. Save it. Okay. We can search for go back. We have the go back. We can delete them. We can update them. That's everything that I wanted to show you today. So thanks for the patience and good luck.